You know, my neighbors are really irrational. I've heard some of my neighbors talk about the existence of gardeners. They actually think that gardeners come into our neighborhood and take care of the lawns and trim the bushes and plant flowers. But I'm skeptical. I don't think there's enough evidence to support the conclusion that gardeners exist. One of my neighbors asked me, well, Brett, what would it take to convince you of the existence of gardeners? So I told him, look, I have never seen one of these gardeners. What would convince me that gardeners exist is if they would come up to my door, shake my hand, and say, hey, I'm your gardener. But that has not happened, and so until then, I think I'm justified in concluding that gardeners do not exist. Look at the bushes. They've got flowers and they're growing and they're healthy. How do you think that happens, Brett? He's pointing to all these effects that he ascribes to gardeners. I don't find that convincing. I gotta see the gardener right in front of me before I'm gonna conclude that he exists. The atheist says, I don't believe in God because there's just not enough evidence that he's real. You say, what kind of evidence would it take to convince you that God exists? The atheist responds and says something like this: God would have to show up right in front of me and shake my hand, and then I would believe that he exists. What the atheist is indicating is that he's not open to any kind of evidence. He's only open to this particular kind of evidence, this particular experience of God showing up. Look, I think that betrays the idea that they're really not open-minded to the evidence. And so oftentimes when you're having conversations with atheists, this is the very first thing you have to do, is you have to ask them what counts as evidence. What kind of evidence will you accept?